This past month, I played every early 2000s console to see if they hold up and if I can feel like a kid again. It started with me recreating my old Sega Dreamcast setup that was stolen when I was a kid. But one nostalgic feeling led to another, and I added a Gamecube, an original Xbox, and a PS2 to that collection. I wanted to see if I would notice a positive difference in my mood and energy from playing these older games. Or am I just desperately waterboarding myself with nostalgia to try to feel something? This is the Sega Dreamcast. It was the first console I ever owned. Every console up until this point I played either at a friend's house or at a Best Buy. I played so many demos at Best Buy, the staff basically knew me, so it was kind of like being at a friend's house. The Dreamcast was not the most popular console back in the day, but it was closest to my heart. It was also the only one I could afford as a kid. For this experiment, the first game I replayed was Jet Set Radio. It's a game where you rollerblade around a fictional Japanese city. You gotta spray graffiti on walls, compete with rival gangs, all while avoiding the cops. These are all activities I'd be too scared to do in real life as a kid, so instead I got to be a little bad motherfucker in the game. This was a nice, familiar game to kick off this whole experiment. I got to relive some childhood memories, and honestly, this game's just special to me, so I wanted to own it. Did this game age perfectly? No. The controls and the camera are still jank, and the pacing feels slow by today's standards. But to me, this is like classical art. I would never say the Mona Lisa's trash just because she wouldn't pop off today. The second game I got is Sonic Adventure 2. This game was fast as hell and responsive for its time. It's literally Sonic, like he has to go fast or he would get laid off from his own game. I love the Sonic and Shadow parts of this game, but I wish there were more of those running levels and less of whatever these characters are up to. Because Knuckles could run fast in the old games, but now he mostly glides around. Man is literally coasting at work. And Tails built himself this mechanical wheelchair that I now have to use, even though he can run and fly perfectly fine. It's like he's faking an injury for insurance. All I want to do is run fast as fuck.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
So as fun as it was to finally get to experience this game as an adult, it did leave me feeling a little unsatisfied. Maybe I'm just like too old of a Sonic fan, and I just like the Sega Genesis Sonic games. But the Genesis is not a part of this generation of consoles, so obviously I'm not going to get it just for this experiment. So anyway, I got a Sega Genesis. When I was 6, the first console I was exposed to was the NES. The second console I ever saw at that same age was the Sega Genesis, and this was at a friend's house. I liked Mario, but after seeing Sonic, it made me feel like Mario was just walking around with a limp. Along with this, I also got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 because that was the only one I could find. And does it still hit? Yeah, the visuals pop on the CRT and the music still bangs. This is easily something I can bust out and play every once in a while. So did the Dreamcast hit? I was happy to have the Dreamcast again, and it did feel like closure after losing the console as a kid. I definitely felt something playing it, so in some ways it did hit, even though it didn't exactly cure the millennial depression. The nostalgia was nice, and I was in a better mood overall after playing it for a few days. But a part of me did feel guilty that I wasn't enjoying it as much as I thought I would. For a few days I did think maybe this was all a waste of time and I'm just trying to fill an empty void. But now I am grateful for the Dreamcast because what it did do was re-energize my appreciation for older consoles. And it inspired me to reconnect with games I missed out on in the early 2000s. Dreamcast games are expensive and hard to find, but I definitely want to get more once it's in my budget. So now moving on to the one other console I had as a kid, which was also stolen from my house alongside the Dreamcast. The Nintendo Gamecube. Unfortunately, I only had 2 games for it, Metroid Prime and Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. I also want to answer a question from back in the day. Was the GameCube for babies? Like a lot of teenagers I knew saw it as a little baby cube for a baby boy. Like look at the little baby handle on this is for your 3-year-old to carry around. And it came with a chip that I did not notice when I was ordering it. This chip's kind of bugging me a little bit. I kind of want one that's not chipped, but I'm trying to tell myself it adds a little more character. Like, yeah, maybe a baby did drop this GameCube. So for this experiment, I wanted to reconnect with an old game I loved and try something new. First game I got was Wind Waker. This was actually the first Zelda game I played as a kid because I just missed out on all the other Zelda games. I was just obsessed with the cartoon art style in this game. Like, this game had so much charm and character and personality. I beat Breath of the Wild when it came out a few years ago, and I loved it, but there's something about the simplicity of Wind Waker that I'll always love and remember. But the moment I started replaying Wind Waker, something was off. The inverted camera controls are fucked. If you don't get what I mean, turning the analog stick left turns the camera right, and then turning it right moves the camera left. There's no setting in the game for me to change this, and this is driving me up the fucking wall. I know emulators let you change this option, but the goal of this experiment was to play all this stuff on the original hardware. Like, I wanted the most authentic, real experience. And I guess being a pissed off child is the real experience. I'm just so disappointed. Like, this made me question whether I'm still cut out to play games, or maybe I'm just too soft as an adult. But I looked it up and lots of other people feel the same way. So it's not just me. Maybe as kids, we were like more adaptive and forgiving. And as adults, we don't have any time or fucks left to give. Kids didn't have leverage. Like, oh, you didn't like this game? Okay, go do your homework then. I thought about maybe not including this part because it was such a bummer and this game just meant so much to me as a kid. But I decided to keep this part in because I think this is a good example of how not everything ages the way we want to from the past. Like, sometimes stuff is just nostalgic, and that's fine. Like, by modern standards, if a AAA game did not let you invert the camera, players would show up at that developer's headquarters with explosives. This whole experiment was off to a bumpy start, and once again I was questioning if I was barking up the wrong tree like a sad little nostalgic squirrel. So I decided to move on and try a game I never played. Simpsons Hit and Run. I've heard incredible things about this game, and I've always wanted to try it. Plus, I'm a hardcore Simpsons fan. Like, it's literally my favorite show. This game was known as like GTA, but Simpson-y. Oh no, I hit a cop. And there's parts of it I love, like the environment, the characters, the dialogue.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Hi, everybody.
This was written by the OG Simpsons writers and voiced by the actual voice actors.
You're charging your own son?
Yeah, I guess I am.
So it feels legit.
Hey, move it, Whitey.
He just said, "Move it, Whitey."
And I like the arcade feeling to this game. But then once the Simpsons nostalgia began wearing off, I felt this familiar feeling creeping back in. Like this feeling of, what am I doing?
Oh my god, man. It has been a while. There's no way I'm gonna get all the monkeys in time.
The missions started getting repetitive and unreasonably harder. All the Simpsons one-liners started off as funny, but then they started to get kind of annoying, and my poor wife had to hide in the bedroom to not hear it.
I smashed my skull.
I kept trying to play this, and then I hit rock bottom. This is when I started thinking of abandoning the experiment. Maybe the Gamecube is a stupid baby device. Maybe my inner child has no pulse. I felt bad, so I took a couple of days off, and then I realized I'm not bound to this game. Like, I can just try something else. So I told myself I'm gonna commit to trying one more game before I quit the experiment. Initially, that game was Resident Evil 4. This was a game people would point to as an example of a more adult-feeling game on a console that otherwise looked like a first grader's lunchbox. But here's the thing, in some ways, I am an actual baby. I don't like scary games or movies. They mess up my sleep. The only scary game I ever played was Resident Evil 1 on the original PlayStation at a friend's house. And the moment that zombie dog jumps through the window, I bowed out. So I compromised. I got a sort of scary game, which is Luigi's Mansion. This game has ghosts, but they're kind of cute and I can vacuum them up. I did not expect to enjoy this game this much, if I'm being honest. This is of the more fun GameCube games I've ever played. It's less about grinding in the game and more about exploration. And the vibe is so fun. It's just so light, colorful, it looks great. Like, I actually really got into this game, and it's probably going to be the first one I beat on the GameCube since I started this whole experiment. So after all that, does the GameCube still hit? In lots of ways, yeah. It's a unique console. The games are bright, imaginative, they run super smooth, the boomerang controller feels really satisfying in my hand. Maybe the GameCube is a console for babies. For your inner baby. But I think Nintendo comes full circle for a lot of people. It's something they play when they're young, and then they eventually move on, and then they reconnect with it as depressed adults. So maybe the GameCube can be the shovel you use to dig up your inner child, the one you buried back when you had to get a real job. Has the GameCube aged in some ways like every console? Of course. Ultimately, I just love seeing this quirky little purple cube in my retro nook. Okay, so I've gone through the two consoles I had as a kid, and now moving into uncharted territory. I recently went to the Toronto Game Expo, and I spotted a chunky-ass original Xbox. This thing is a beast. I have to hold it on my shoulder like an old 80s boombox. One of the reasons the original Xbox flopped in Japan was because of its size. Like, fucking look at this thing compared to the Dreamcast. Where are Japanese people gonna put this in their living room? This is the size of like a Japanese house. Like most kids in 2001, I wanted one of these, and it was all for one reason. This was a game that crossed generations and cultures. Parents know about Halo. Disgruntled girlfriends and wives know about Halo. The team at Bungie took everything they loved about PC and console shooters, and they made the most intuitive, fun, simple shooter that any console had seen up until that point. We obviously had great shooters that kind of paved the way up until then, but Halo really laid the foundation for modern shooting games on consoles. I personally remember a big cultural shift as a kid in the early 2000s was when even cool athletic kids at my school began playing Halo. Up until then, this was unheard of to me. I couldn't afford an Xbox, so I never had this as a kid, but I've always had this longing to play it on the original Xbox as God intended. And holy shit, does this hold up. Forget the GOAT. Halo is the mule. Because it carried so many things on its back. Countless childhoods, the Xbox console itself, Microsoft's financials. Without Halo, the Xbox is just an aggressive, intimidating looking brick, and it would eventually be left on the side of the road. They may as well just put Master Chief's logo on the Xbox instead of the actual Xbox logo. It's the Chief box. It's the Master box. Oh, that sounds weird. It's the damn Halo box, okay? That is why I got it at this convention. Halo is so well paced and well designed. The colors pop, the story is incredible, the characters are memorable, and the music by Marty O'Donnell is extraordinary. This game is so rock solid. Microsoft is remastering it to this day. There's another Halo campaign remake coming out. Similar to Luigi's Mansion, after playing Halo, I would genuinely look forward to the 30 minutes at the end of my night that I would spend playing this game. Out of all these consoles, the Xbox is probably the one I'm least familiar with, but it's definitely something I want to rediscover. And I even got the second Halo, which I haven't started playing yet. Okay, so I just ordered the final console, the PS2, and this is what's gonna finish this whole experiment. Alright, it's finally here. I got the PS2 Slim. As a kid, I would have signed up to die on Squid Game for this console. The PS2 was something I would call a friend console. It was something I didn't own directly, but experienced through a friend. My friend would invite me over, and I would just watch him play, like a little brother. But now that I'm a kid in my 30s, it was time to finally experience this console for myself. Of all the classic games for the PS2, the one I'm most excited to play for the first time is Ratchet & Clank. This was another classic Best Buy demo. Probably the top one for me. By this stage of my Best Buy gaming career, the staff just felt sorry for me. They were probably like, dude, we wish we could just give you this console just so you would leave. The moment I started playing Ratchet & Clank, I was immediately teleported back to being 12 years old again, minus the acne. It is so nice to finally be able to own this game instead of just snapping my neck at Best Buy. This game has delightful visuals, amazing music, fun characters, and satisfying gameplay. I used to walk around this level back in the day just admiring it, because this is when the PS2 was so cutting edge, I couldn't believe what I was seeing in a video game. I spent a few days playing Ratchet & Clank, but then I also got a couple of games from back in the day. I got ATV Off-Road Fury, and I got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which was a friend console game. So now I can actually play through these games and pretend I'm in that era. Because the PS2 had such a crazy run, there are so many PS2 games still out there, and I'd say they're the most affordable out of all these consoles. So this is something I have to go deep on. If you have any game recommendations for these consoles, let me know and I'll check them out. There's been so many moments this month where I just be playing a game and then I suddenly stop and I think I should be out doing grown-up things, whatever that is. And then there were moments where I wondered why I ever stopped playing games in the first place. This is so much fun. Why I couldn't just let myself enjoy games and not overthink it. I think initially I had this expectation that these older consoles and games would make me happy, but I don't think that's realistic. Instead, I see nostalgia as more of an anti-inflammatory, like Advil for your soul. I would say to me, this retro nook is more of a religious shrine. It's a place to come to when life gets heavy, and it doesn't need to be used on any sort of schedule. It's also a cool museum, a reminder of the golden age of 3D gaming. What I kind of liked was having a small library of physical games I could own instead of an endless digital library. The tactile experience of putting in a game felt like a ritual. I also learned that if a certain game or system doesn't hit anymore, we're not obligated to just keep playing it. We can just try something else. It's not a secret that certain old games will only hit if you played them as a kid. This doesn't make a game bad or good, you just had to be there. I think even if you have kids or a busy career, older games and consoles is still something that's nice to come back to once in a while. The point was not to rush through them to see if I'd still get that hit of dopamine, but rather to just slowly experience something I always wanted to as a broke-ass kid. I moved out when I was 18, and somewhere along the way of having to survive in the real world, I forgot how to enjoy games. I can finally retire my old identity of being a gamer and just be a 36-year-old casual player. So probably the biggest thing I got out of this experiment was that for 30 minutes a day, I can just be a kid again.